Every single year, over 1 billion pounds of Himalayan pink salt are mined from deep beneath the Earth's surface, not from the sea, not from modern evaporation pools, but from a colossal salt deposit formed 250 million years ago, buried under the Himalayan mountains in what is now Pakistan. This isn't just salt. It's a mineral-rich crystal used in gourmet kitchens, luxury spas, wellness centers, and even construction. You've seen it in lamps, bricks, bath soaks, and on your dinner plate. But few people know how it's actually extracted, or how dangerous, massive, and old school the mining process still is. So how does this ancient pink rock travel from a mine 1,500 feet underground to a grinder in your kitchen? Today, we're going inside one of the oldest and largest salt mines on Earth to see how over 1 billion pounds of Himalayan salt are mined, processed, and shipped around the world. Despite the name, Himalayan salt isn't mined from the snowy peaks of Nepal or Tibet. It comes from a region hundreds of miles south of the actual Himalayas, in the Punjab province of Pakistan. Specifically, from an ancient geological formation called the Salt Range, a series of low mountains that once sat at the edge of a long evaporated prehistoric ocean. Around 250 million years ago, that ocean dried up, leaving behind vast salt deposits. Over eons, these deposits were buried under layers of rock and sediment, compressing the mineral-rich salt into thick, solid veins. Today, that ancient ocean is long gone, but its remains sit buried in the earth, waiting to be mined. The Kira salt mine is the crown jewel of this range. Discovered in 326 BCE, according to legend, by the horses of Alexander the Great, it's the second largest salt mine in the world and the oldest in continuous operation. It contains over 8 square miles of underground tunnels and chambers, most of them still rich with untouched salt deposits. The mine itself is essentially a subterranean city carved into a glowing pink mountain of rock. And every year, it yields more than 400,000 tons of salt. But getting it out is no easy task. The Kira salt mine isn't just a tunnel, it's an underground metropolis. Located about 100 miles south of Islamabad, this mine plunges nearly 2,000 feet beneath the Earth's surface and stretches across 19 levels, only 7 of which are actively mined today. It covers an estimated 110 square kilometers of chambers and tunnels, much of it carved directly from solid pink salt. The deeper you go, the more surreal it gets. Crystalline walls shimmer under headlamps. Salt dust hangs in the air. Massive pillars, left in place to support the ceilings, glow red and gold in low lighting. There's even a working railway used to transport salt and miners in and out of the site. The mine also contains an underground mosque, sculptures carved entirely out of salt, and a small salt therapy chamber for tourists seeking respiratory relief. Each day, hundreds of workers descend into these tunnels. They work in 12-hour shifts, using a combination of hand tools, pneumatic drills, and controlled blasting to chip away at the ancient mineral veins. But no matter how advanced the equipment becomes, the layout of the mine hasn't changed in centuries. That's because Kira uses a technique called room and pillar mining, a delicate balance of removing salt while leaving enough structure to prevent cave-ins. And it works. In over 800 years of continuous mining, the Kira salt mine has never experienced a major collapse. Himalayan salt is harvested with a mix of old-world skill and modern efficiency. Once a promising vein is identified, miners drill small holes into the rock face and load them with explosives. These charges are carefully measured and placed to break the salt into large, manageable chunks without pulverizing it. After detonation, the chamber fills with salt boulders weighing anywhere from 50 to 500 pounds each. Workers quickly move in with pneumatic hammers and hand tools to split the pieces further. Heavy machinery like loaders and dump trucks ferry the broken salt onto conveyor belts or into mine carts, which carry the raw material out of the tunnel system and into open-air processing yards. The goal is efficiency without contamination. Any salt too close to diesel exhaust or mud-stained cave floors is set aside for industrial use, not for consumption. On average, a single chamber can yield hundreds of tons of salt per week. Multiply that across dozens of active sites, and Cura's annual production easily crosses the billion-pound mark. But extraction is just the beginning. Before this salt ends up in your grinder, it has to go through a long and careful refinement process. Moving massive amounts of salt from underground to above ground is a logistical challenge in itself. At Cura, a system of narrow-gauge railways and vertical shafts moves material upward. Loaded carts are pulled up inclined tracks using pulley systems or small electric locomotives. Larger chunks are brought up by elevator lifts, metal cages capable of holding tons at a time. As salt reaches the surface, it's deposited into giant sorting bays, where workers manually remove debris, blackened rock, or unusable chunks. The rest is loaded onto trucks or pushed via conveyor belts to the washing and sorting facility nearby. Despite its weight and volume, salt must be handled delicately. Too much exposure to moisture, diesel fumes, or dust ruins its quality, especially for food-grade salt. Each truckload is logged, tagged, and weighed before moving on to the next stage. At full capacity, Cura can move over 3,000 tons of salt a day from underground to ground level without pause. Once on the surface, the salt enters a new phase, grading and refinement. Workers first sort the salt by color and clarity. The most desirable Himalayan salt is a deep rose pink, semi-transparent, and free from visible impurities. These chunks are set aside for high-end culinary or spa use. Lighter-colored or less consistent blocks are still valuable, but usually reserved for salt lamps, bricks, or bath products. The chosen pieces are then fed into a washing chamber, where they're rinsed with pressurized water to remove dust, debris, and loose sediment. No chemicals are used, just water and time. Once clean, the blocks are dried in large solar or gas-powered dryers before heading to the cutting room. Every stage is still surprisingly manual. Workers use chisels, hand carts, and visual inspection, not digital scanners, to make the final calls on quality. This hands-on approach preserves the integrity of the salt and explains why true Himalayan salt carries such a premium. Once dried, the salt blocks are sent to cutting workshops. Here, large slabs are trimmed into precise shapes using diamond-tipped saws, the only tools capable of slicing through dense mineral rock without shattering it. Cut pieces are carved into various forms. Rectangular bricks used for cooking or spa walls, cubes for grinders and table use, sculpted bases for lamps and candle holders. The remaining dust and shavings are swept into bins and reserved for further grinding into fine salt. This is where form meets function. A single block of pink salt can become a food-safe cooking slab, a light fixture, or fine crystal for seasoning. No part of the rock goes to waste. The most common form of Himalayan salt is the one you see on your dinner table, finely ground crystals in a shaker or grinder. To achieve this, the remaining rock is crushed using stainless steel industrial grinders, then filtered by mesh size. The result? Coarse crystals for grinders, fine powder for shakers, ultra-fine grades for cosmetics or industrial use. Each grade is bagged, sealed, and labeled according to purity, grain size, and moisture content. Premium brands often rescreen and hand-inspect their product before sealing it for shipment. Once packaged, the salt is shipped out to over 60 countries worldwide, where it's marketed as a luxury product. And it all started with a 250 million-year-old rock buried beneath Pakistan. Himalayan salt may be trendy, but it's anything but new. It's a relic of an ancient ocean, mined by hand, carved by tradition, and carried across the world grain by grain. From underground mosques to salt-carved cathedrals, this mineral isn't just a product, it's a story. One of geology, labor, craftsmanship, and global trade. So the next time you twist your grinder or light a pink salt lamp, remember, you're holding a piece of Earth's ancient past, shaped by time, pressure, and the hands of those who mine it. If you enjoyed this episode of Complex Made Simple, you can support us by liking and subscribing to the channel. If you have any suggestions for a future video, leave it in the comments. We'll be sure to give you a shout out if we decide to use your idea.